Is this the Aputure 120D killer? We're about to find out. What is going on, everybody? If you're new around here, my name is Finn Badgley. I'm a commercial fashion, portrait photographer, and all-around content creator. And today we are talking about lighting, and more specifically, the Genaray Portabright. Now, this is definitely a lesser known COB LED light in the field, but it is definitely one to keep an eye on, and one that I watched for a while, kind of mulled over before finally picking up, and that is what is currently lighting me as my key light right now. Now, is this light the Aputure 120D killer? Well, stick around till the end to get the final verdict there. But before we talk about that, let's get into the actual specifications of this light, things that I like about it after using it for the past month or two, things that I maybe don't like so much, and my overall thoughts on the light. So this light currently is listed on B&H, original price for $250 US, but it regularly is on sale for $200 all in. This comes with the light, its dedicated battery, power adapters, a standard reflector, a CTO diffusion disc that goes on the front of the reflector, making it a tungsten balanced light whenever you throw that on there, and a nice little carrying case. All in all, for the price, it's actually a very solid package, and I am quite impressed with it out of the box. It definitely adds quite a bit more value than I was actually expecting for the price, but let's get into how it actually is to work with, to film with, and to use as a video light. Now, a lot of these less expensive video lights, one of the questions is, what is the fan noise like? Because certain lights like the Aputures are able to really dial in that, so you don't get any of that fan sound on the actual recording. You don't really hear it as much compared to some of the other maybe cheaper options where you get a little bit more of that fan noise. And here's the thing, I can definitely hear it currently, but it's not anything that is obtrusive when I am filming. To give you an idea, I'm going to take a pause for a moment. I am currently laved up, and we are going to see what the overall fan sound sounds like. I'll play it for a couple seconds, and then I will increase the audio so you can maybe hear what it sounds like. And currently the light is at 80% brightness coming through a octabox with double diffusion, just so you get a clear idea there. It's also about roughly 2 meters away from me currently. So here we go. Now, you can probably hear a little bit of it, especially when I pump up the audio in the second part of that, but when I am just editing my regular dialogue and playing back my videos, it's not anything that I have come to see as overly obtrusive or anything like that, where it takes away from the audio experience. If it were, then that would definitely pose an issue, and then I would have more to say about it, but it's never really caused an issue for me, and you can decide whether on the sound of it, it's something that would work for you or not. Now, let's get into the actual light output of this guy. So currently I am filming this on the Canon EOS R in the C-Log profile. I am shooting at 24 frames per second. My shutter speed is 1/50th. I am filming at f2.2 on the Canon 85mm 1.8, and my ISO is 250. So that way you get an idea of my settings. This light is at 80% currently, so that way you can see what it looks like. Also, I'm about to turn off my other two lights that I have here, so you can see what this single light is doing, and then that way you can gauge it more. Okay, so now this is the only light that is currently on in my entire space that is currently lighting me. You can see how it gives that nice soft light, and that is because I have it through a softbox currently. This is something similar in nature to your aputure light dome or light dome mini. This is about a 36-inch octabox that I'm using here, and it just gives a nice soft light on the face. Now, like I said, this is at 80%, and now we're going to jump up to 100%. So this is at 100% to give you a little bit of a similarity there. And now I'm gonna jump all the way down to about 10% to give you an idea there. Okay, and now the light is at 10% brightness, so you can see the difference between all the different brightness levels. Okay, and we're back to the usual setup. So let's talk about some things that I like about this and some things that maybe could be changed or improved, or things that I've just noticed in general. So the light output from this is actually quite impressive, especially for the money. At 1 meter away, bare bulb on this guy, you're looking at about 10,000 lux. Lux being the increment that you use to measure the amount of light output. Now, comparing this to the Aputure 120D Mark II, that is quoted at around 7,000, 8,000 lux, again, bare bulb. Now, if you were to put different attachments on it, different diffusers, or different accessories to modify the light, obviously it's going to affect the output in that regard and will skew it. So currently, having this go through 2 levels of diffusion, it will be a little bit dimmer than if I had it at just a bare bulb or using a regular standard 7-inch reflector. But also, if I did that, it would be a very harsh, unflattering light. So I'm fine with this, and it is bright enough where it works for that. Now, here's the thing where you start to see some of the differences why the aputure is maybe quite a bit more high quality. This guy only adjusts in 10% increments. So if I wanted to, say, dial it back by 5%, I can't do that. If I want it to be at 75%, I need to either be at 70 or 80% and then put diffusion on it or a bit of ND gel so that way I can cut the light. Otherwise, I am just dealing with those 10% increments. Now, that's not an absolute deal breaker, but if you want very fine-tuned adjustments, it's gonna be something that maybe won't be super friendly in that regard. It's not a huge thing, but it's definitely something to keep in mind, especially if you really like to dial in your lighting with these fine micro adjustments. Now, one thing that I do really like about this guy is it is battery powered. It does have its own proprietary battery that will power it, I believe, at full power for 45 to 90 minutes, something in around there, I believe is what they're quoted at saying. Now, the good thing is the battery is actually included in the price of the light. However, each battery alone is like $75, $80 US. And when you're going through them, if you're just using battery power, every 45 to 90 minutes, that's gonna be quite a few batteries, especially if you're using this on any type of set. And the batteries, because they are made specifically for this light, you can't use them for anything else, so you just have to get a bunch that are dedicated to just this. I know similar lights are the same way, but it's just something to keep in mind, whereas something like the Aputure 120D that can be powered off of a gold mount or V-mount battery, you can use those batteries for many other applications. You can power cameras with them, you can power just about anything off of those batteries, so they're very versatile in that way, even though they're a little more expensive, but it's something that has more flexibility to it, where these batteries just work for this, and that's it. And the other thing here is you can also plug this into hard power and have it on all the time, which is what I usually do for these videos, just so I'm not running down the battery. And the one thing that I would have liked to see is have it when it's plugged in, the battery will also charge when it's on there, when it's plugged into hard power, but that isn't the case. So if your battery dies and then you switch over to hard power, that's not going to charge the battery back up. Your battery's still going to be dead. So it's definitely something to keep in mind, and something, if you're using this on location a bunch, you would want to get quite a few batteries, if not a lot of batteries, just so that way you're covered no matter what happens. But that also does then jack up the price of this light, and is something to definitely keep in mind. Another thing that's great about the Aputure lights is that you can dim them and mess around with them using the remotes, turn them on and off, etc. Whereas this, there's no remotes, nothing fancy about it. There's just the on-off switch, dials on the back, and that's pretty much all you get. Now, that's not a huge thing, but also if you're somewhere where you have this up on the ceiling, anything like that, it can become a hassle to deal with. For me, when I just have it on the ground lighting me like this, it's perfectly fine. It's not a huge inconvenience whatsoever. However, if it were mounted somewhere, app controls or a remote, anything of that variety would definitely come in handy. These are some similarities between this and the kind of king in this light field, the Aputure 120D, and some things that maybe will steer you more towards one versus the other. This is definitely a very high quality budget solution, but you end up missing out on some of those higher end features. The build quality on this, I'm actually very impressed with. It feels like it could take a beating and keep on kicking. Also, something that I love is you're able to put things like a safety chain through it so it won't fall if you have it above somebody's head. If it's gonna fall off a stand or anything catastrophic, it has a little safety lock that's gonna keep it from actually having that happen. You just push it in and that way you're good to go. You can take it off. But if you don't want it off, it's not gonna come off. These little attentions to detail go a very long way, and it's something that I am always happy to see. Also, even the handle, the yoke on this to actually angle it, it's one of those kip handles, I believe they're called, where you can pull it out and adjust the position of it. Always a big fan of those handles. This is me nerding out for a second, because there's nothing worse than when you're turning it and it's a really weird spot and you wish you could adjust the position of the handle, but this you can, so you don't get in that awkward weird spot where you can't quite tighten it all the way and then it's all wonky and weird and drops a bit. No, this guy, you can pull that handle out. It's not going to decrease the tension at all. Switch it to the spot you want and keep tightening or loosening for what works for you. It's something that is just these little minor things, these little touches that up the quality and the user experience, and something that I very much enjoy seeing in the gear that I am using. It's these little things that I just love. I'm nerding out here, but it's these things that make it, that just sweeten the deal. These little things that I just really enjoy. Now, overall, do I regret buying this light? Not at all. It's a great light, especially for the price. I'll probably keep it as my main key light for quite some time. Maybe later on down the road, I will be looking at something like an Aputure 120D, or maybe 300D, 600D, or maybe one of those big Nova RGB lights, something fancy like that. But for what I'm doing right now, this serves my purpose perfectly, and it's something that I will continue to use for many years down the road, as it feels like it will definitely hold up. And if you've been looking at different COB LED lights, LED? If you have been looking at different COB LED lights, then maybe this one is now on your radar and maybe it's something to consider. I was not sponsored by Genaray for making this video. I was not paid by them. I was not sent this. I did buy this light with my own hard-earned cash, and this is just my genuine, most honest thoughts about this, and if I would buy it again. And quite frankly, I'm pretty sure I very much would. I don't regret it whatsoever. There are little quirks, but overall, this is a great light and something that I am excited to work with down the road. If I learn more about this or any quirks or anything comes up, I'll definitely be sure to update you as we go. So make sure you follow along so you can see all the trials and tribulations along the YouTube content creation journey. I hope you enjoyed this video and got some value out of it, especially if you have been looking at different lighting solutions, especially if those ones just so happen to be under a certain budget. With all that said, I hope you liked this video, and if you did, make sure to drop a like down below. Leave a comment if you like this kind of thing and you want to see more gear reviews from me in the future. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell to be notified when I post new videos so you never, ever miss an upload. Work hard, rest often, and as always, my friends, I will see you on the next one.